Well, hey, BookTube, welcome back to the History Shelf. My name is Peg, and I've got a little bit of a book haul for you today. Got a little mix of history and a little mix of fiction here. So, without further ado, let's dive in here. I should say that I ordered these books from Book Outlet a while ago, well over a month ago, I think. I just haven't had a chance to film them yet, and yes, I went a little crazy over the last year, and I've had to get rid of a lot of books to make room for these books. But anyway, I'm pretty happy with some of these, and I got some new fiction series that I'd like to try out. So yeah, we'll get you a nice little mixture here. All right. The first book I picked up from Book Outlet, marked down, and really surprised to see it, although he's been getting this author. This is a work of history, but he has written a lot of spy thrillers and other type of World War II novels. And he's been getting a little bit of a renaissance lately, especially through the new republished, really slick versions of some of his spy and World War II novels. They're getting republished in new editions from Grove Atlantic. And this is Len Deighton. But this is his history of World War II, called Blood, Tears, and Folly, an objective look at World War II. It's a pretty decent sized book, just trade paperback. Got it for pretty cheap. Nice and lightweight. Let's see. Despite the volumes written about World War II, many questions remain unanswered. In this balanced and thoughtful chronicle, historian and World War II expert Len Deighton dares to explore intriguing questions, including why the British weren't more prepared for the Blitz and why Hitler failed to thoroughly support his U-boat program. He also warns that we haven't yet learned the lessons of World War II, as ethnic cleansing, Middle East violence, and the widening gap between rich and poor still plague the world. So that should be an interesting take. Blood, Tears, and Folly from Len Deighton. I picked up a couple of his other books, and I've shown them in a recent video. Actually, Grove Atlantic sent me them. There are two World War II novels that I want to get into. But that's history. So all right, I'm going to group together some of the. I've got history, and then I got two volumes of memoir, so check that out. All right, so I was really excited to see this. I paid a little bit more for this one, but I heard it referenced on a podcast I listened to, and I was like, I have to find this. Well, it went to the Bargain Books website pretty quickly, Hamilton Books. Book Outlet. Although, wait a minute. No, this one was from Book Outlet. Sorry. This is The Rebels Clinic. The Revolutionary Lives of Frantz Fanon by Adam Schatz. It's put out by Farrar, Straus and Giroux. This is a new book. Came out last year. No, this year. Earlier this year. Yes, and I've been meaning to get it. All right. So for those of you out there who aren't aware of who Frantz Fanon is, let's get into it. In the era of Black Lives Matter, Frantz Fanon's shadow looms larger than ever. He was the intellectual activist of the post-colonial era, and his writings about race, revolution, and the psychology of power continue to shape radical movements across the world. Yay! In this searching biography, Adam Schatz tells the story of Fanon's stunning journey, which has all the twists of a Cold War-era thriller. Fanon left his modest home in Martinique to fight in the French army during World War II. When the war was over, he fell under the influence of existentialism while studying medicine in Lyon and trying to make sense of his experiences as a black man in a white city. Fanon went on to practice a novel psychiatry of disalienation in rural France and Algeria, and then joined the Algerian independence struggle, for which he became a spokesman, diplomat, and clandestine strategist. He died in 1961 while under the care of the CIA, never a good thing, in a Maryland hospital. Today, Fanon's Black Skin, White Masks, and The Wretched of the Earth have become canonical texts of the black and global radical imaginations, comparable to James Baldwin's essays in their influence. And yet they are little understood. In The Rebels Clinic, Schatz offers a dramatic reconstruction of Fannin's extraordinary life and a guide to the books that underlie today's most vital efforts to understand and challenge white supremacy and the scourges of domination. Well, okay. Yeah, I did want to read this. I don't think I'm going to be able to swallow a lot of it, but it should be interesting. The Rebels Clinic. No, yeah, the podcast, I heard it from, yes, John McWhorter read this, and he was engaged with the content a bit. That would be from the Glenn Lurie show. But The Rebels Clinic from Farrar, Straus, and Giroux. I picked that one up. Yeah. And shout out to my friend Patrice, our buddy reader extraordinaire across BookTube, who buddy reads with so many booktubers. She had recommended this book to me when we were doing a buddy read of The Great War and the Birth of Modern Medicine. And we learned a lot of stuff about just the medical industry, not industry, but the medical community and what they were doing in France and abroad during World War I, and the doctors and what they were trying to do to treat different types of wounds in World War I. It was a fascinating book. But she had read a book that she recommended to me called The Facemaker, and I had to get it. A Visionary Surgeon's Battle to Mend the Disfigured Soldiers of World War I by Lindsay Fitzharris, who many of you know from The Butchering Art, which I still haven't gotten my hands on yet, but I've read so many good things about that book. But Patrice raved about this, and this talks about the men the doctors who were actually able to deal and make a second chance for many men who were so facially disfigured that they scared children in the street and wouldn't have had a chance at a normal life. And they touched on that in a chapter in that book that we read together about the birth of modern medicine in World War I. But The Facemaker goes into way more detail, and obviously it gives, not to give away too much, but it gives you really the disturbing photos of before and after and all that kind of stuff. And just the work that they did back in the day. Oh, some of these are really tough to look at, for sure. Wow. But they did some miraculous things to give these men another chance at life, or at least have more of a normal life. So let me read a little bit of this to you. Okay, so on the from the moment the first machine gun rang out over the Western Front, one thing was clear: mankind's military technology had wildly surpassed its medical capabilities. Bodies were battered, gouged, hacked, and gassed. The First World War claimed millions of lives and left millions more wounded and disfigured. In the midst of this brutality, however, there were also those who strove to alleviate suffering. Lindsay Fitzharris's The Facemaker tells the extraordinary story of such an individual, the pioneering plastic surgeon Harold Gillies, who dedicated himself to reconstructing the burned and broken faces of the injured soldiers under his care. Gillies, a Cambridge-educated New Zealander, became interested in the nascent field of plastic surgery after encountering the human wreckage on the front. Returning to Britain, he established one of the world's first hospitals dedicated entirely to facial reconstruction. There, Gillies assembled a unique group of practitioners whose task was to rebuild what had been torn apart, to recreate what had been destroyed. At a time when losing a limb made a soldier a hero, but losing a face made him a monster, to a society largely intolerant of disfigurement, Gillies restored not just the faces of the wounded, but also their spirits. Oh, yes. So The Facemaker places Gillies' ingenious surgical innovations alongside the dramatic stories of soldiers whose lives were wrecked and repaired. And the result is a vivid account of how medicine can be an art and of what courage and imagination can accomplish in the presence of relentless horror. So, that is amazing. Look at that. Yep. The human's tools to affect art. God made us to do incredible things, and God bless that man for doing that. So The Facemaker by Lindsay Fitzharris. I I think it's going to be great. And she just has gotten so many acclaims for, the butchering art, that I think this one's going to be fantastic. And they covered Gillies in The Birth of Modern Medicine that Patrice and I read, like I said, but this goes way more into detail and a lot more photos too, so you can see that before and after. All right, let me do this. This is a fun. These just hit Book Outlet about a month ago, and it's a 2-volume memoir of a writer. He was a writer in translation a lot. I've got his big novel called Stories in the bedroom. It's Peter Nadas. Well, his 2-volume memoir just went to Book Outlet for like $10 each, and so I snapped it up. And this is volume 1 of Shimmering Details, a memoir. This is by Peter Nadas, translated by Judith Solosi. Okay, and then I picked up Shimmering Details, volume 2. I love memoirs, and I love reading, especially writers' memoirs. It's a little niche interest of mine. So let me take this. We'll look at the first volume here. Okay. In his illuminating memoir, Shimmering Details, the renowned author investigates what it means to reconstruct a life without recourse to the techniques and embellishments of traditional storytelling. Taking his firmly embedded memories, the shimmering details that give this work its title, as his starting point, Nadas dissects them using a method inspired by Freudian dream interpretation. Sounds, scenes, smells, feelings, all are probed for details that might allow him to reconstruct what happened and when and where. To avoid conscious or unconscious distortions, he deconstructs the stories of others too, moving in concentric circles toward cause and effect until their meaning and significance come to light. Well, that should be interesting. In Shimmering Details, Volume 1, Nadas probes the history of his family from the late 19th century to his birth in 1942 and beyond. In a work that encompasses World War II and the Hungarian Revolution, Nadas traces the hidden connections between the seemingly random events of a life and assembles them into a memoir like no other. The first volume is 540 pages or so. So it's a big first volume. And then volume 2, another 500-page book. And so in volume 2, Nadas delves deeper into his and his parents' lives during the tumultuous years spanning the rise of Hungarian communism in 1948 to the brutal suppression of the 1956 uprising. Zeroing in on this critical period, which overlapped with the formative years of his childhood, Nadas concludes his monumental history of a family whose own experiences and fortunes are deeply intertwined with 2 centuries of Hungarian history. So you see, the memoir is just, it's very historical as well. Kind of like I was there type of stuff. And I love reading people who lived through these types of, historical eras and events. The second volume is a composite portrait of life lived at the nexus of world historical forces, a jewel-like study that holds up different facets of the human experience to the light of Nadas's singular prose style. What emerges is a memoir of unusual insight and exceptional power. All right. And he is hailed by one writer as an extraordinary writer, and he has confirmed his place among Europe's greatest living authors. So that's what the Dust Jacket copy says. So I've got the 2-volume Shimmering Details, Peter Nadas. Yes. All right. The last nonfiction title that I have here, this just sounded fantastic. I love reading about and learning about other countries. Just what it's like, what it was like then, what it's like now. Just I'm so interested in different cultures and peoples and histories of different. I don't know. All of history is so interesting to me, including current history. But this is Every Human Intention, Japan in the New Century by Drew Richard. I got this off of Book Outlet. This is put out by Pantheon. Every Human Intention. This book came out 2021, only a few years old. Drew Richard presents post-Fukushima Japan in 3 illustrative parts. He follows members of Japan's Nigerian community who have been affected by Japan's flawed and exploitative visa system. He surveys the northernmost town in Japan, which is rapidly depopulating as its residents age and die. And he takes us into the offices of nuclear regulatory officials who cannot agree on the parameters of their own earthquake fault review, which will determine whether the nation's riskiest reactors will be allowed to restart. My goodness. Richard's perceptive and probing reporting establishes him as an authority on his subjects, but he remains aware of his status as an outsider and interpreter for his readers. The personal elements in his subjects' stories, as well as his own expatriate perspective, provide a distinctive understanding of today's Japan that goes far beyond politics, truisms, and sensational arguments. Okay. Ooh. There is our writer. Nice young man. This is a pretty beefy book. It's almost 400 pages. But Japan is I've always been very interested in Japanese culture, history, and we have a table of contents here. This is very unusual. Trying to find it. Okay. Yep. Anyway, thought I'd check it out. It was probably like $5. A nice hardcover, brand new. Every Human Intention, Japan in the New Century. Okay, so now we're going to move into... Oh, no. I take it back. All right. Oh, no. Is this a... It's a memoir. Okay, one more memoir. It makes me want to go back to read the other 2 first. You know, they made this into a Max series. I remember a few years ago I started to try to watch it and it didn't grab me, but I kind of want to continue on. But this is Jake Adelstein, and this is Tokyo Vice. I'm an American reporter on the police beat in Japan. As you can see, now a Max original series. He's written a couple of others. Oh, there's a new one coming out. That I want to get. I think I requested it. So I got this because I wanted to kind of prepare myself for the next book, or the new book coming out. Okay, so it says here, Jake Adelstein is the only American journalist ever to have been admitted to the insular Tokyo Metropolitan Police Press Club, where for 12 years he covered the dark side of Japan. Extortion, murder, human trafficking, fiscal corruption, and of course, the Yakuza. But when his final scoop exposed a scandal that reverberated all the way from the neon-soaked streets of Tokyo to the polished halls of the FBI and resulted in death threats against him and his family, Adelstein decided to step down. Then he fought back. In Tokyo Vice, he delivers an unprecedented look at Japanese culture and a searing memoir about his rise from cub reporter to seasoned journalist with a price on his head. So this kind of follows along very nicely with this book on Japan. But yeah, I want to read... He's got another book with Tokyo, the title, and then there's a new one coming out. So anyway, Tokyo Vice, guys. All right. Now I promise. Okay. It's blowing myself out with this light. It's getting dark outside, so now the light's changing in here. And that just washed me out. All right. I don't care. Okay, so I finally want to get around to trying this series. And a bunch of them were marked down on Book Outlet, and then I was going to buy more at Hamilton, and then I realized I can't buy any more books, so I'm going to read what I have. I might, pick up the ones I'm missing, but they're not going to stay in the house for sure. But I'm excited to have them here to try. And here's the first book in the series, and this is Mark Graney, because I've heard so much from Mark Richardson on Richardson Reads. Back in the day, I remember mentioning that they really liked the Greyman series, so I'm going to try it. I've read Brad Thor. I've read some of the other guys. I've read a lot of different technical thrillers and stuff and espionage stuff, but I want to kind of go back to what people really, word of mouth, are talking about being some fantastic reads. And this is the first book in the series, The Greyman. To those who lurk in the shadows, he's known as the Greyman. He is a legend in the covert realm, moving silently from job to job, accomplishing the impossible and then fading away. And he always hits his target. Always. But there are forces more lethal than Gentry in the world. Oh, that's his name. Oh, I should say, in red up here, it said, meet Court Gentry. He's a good man and an even better assassin. Okay, Court Gentry. That's fantastic. It sounds like a title from a Louis L'Amour Western, actually. Okay. Okay, so there are forces more lethal than Gentry in the world. Forces like money and power. And there are men who hold these as the only currency worth fighting for. In their eyes, Gentry has just outlived his usefulness. But Court Gentry is going to prove that for him, there's no gray area between killing for a living and killing to stay alive. So, the Greyman. Okay. And these are not in order. I just decided to pick up a couple of the books that were marked down. Because at the time, I was committing to reading the entire series. So I also picked up Sierra 6, which I think is the 4th or 5th book in the series, maybe. I don't, there's a lot. Oh no, it's way more than that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the 11th book in the series. And then they had a hardcover of like one of the more recent titles come out. So I was like, let me go ahead and get that one. And this one is number 13 in the series. This is the Chaos Agent. So yeah, I have 11 and 13 when I'm ready for it. But in the meantime, I've got number 1. Yeah, so I kind of want to start reading the Greyman series. Hopefully I'll like it. And if not, I'll give away numbers 11, 13. Okay, guys, well, that was a fairly doable book haul of sorts. I think I had to break these up a bit. Oh, I think I have another stack downstairs. But, you know, we're going to keep it to 25 minutes this time and see how we do. What are you guys going to do with a 23-minute video? It's just so fast. It's over in the blink of an eye. Well, anyway, thanks for checking out these books with me, guys. Let me know what appeals to you. And be sure to head back here to the channel real soon. We've got some horror reads that I'm looking at doing for this month. And I'll have a stack of recommendations in case you guys, or suggestions in case you guys are looking for something spooky to read this Halloween season. And then Historathon 2024 Q4 announcement, pile of possibilities, and what I'll be reading. That needs to happen this week as well. So stay tuned. We got a lot going on now that I am back at it and I'm back on my feet again. So until next time, BookTube, take care. We'll see you. Bye.